The birds, they sang at break of day. Start again, I hear them say. Don't dwell on what has passed away or what is yet to be. Ah, the wars, they will be fought again. The holy dove, she will be caught again. Bought, sold, and bought again, the dove is never free. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Oh, I love those words from Leonard Cohen. And I love Leonard Cohen for giving us those words. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Oh, but don't we forget it. Over and over again, even as we seek the sacred and the holy within and without. We are so obsessed with perfectionism, so diminished by our fear of failure, so outraged when things don't go as we think they should. And yet, isn't it our shared truth that so often we discover who we are and what we are capable of being and becoming, not through our perfection, but through those cracks that let the light come in, through the agonies of disappointment that force us to see that our pride and ego are an insufficient refuge, that we are part of an unseen world as well as a seen one, that inspiration is to hand, that infinite love is to hand, and that the sun will rise again despite us on each new day. This is the story of grace. The sun will rise again on each new day. Help is at hand. In Forgiveness and Other Acts of Love, I tell a story of a young woman who goes to an Indian teacher and pours out her sorrows that take quite some long time to tell. And as she goes on and on, the Indian teacher begins to smile, and by the end of this, she is laughing. And the young woman is not only hurt, she is shocked, and perhaps even a little bit insulted. And then the teacher speaks to her and says, "Ah, maybe now your heart can crack open and the sun of the self can shine through," meaning the sun of the realized self, the sun of the eternal self, the sun of the soul can shine through. Do we sometimes nourish our woundedness at the expense of our knowledge of grace? Do we sometimes forget to look at our wisdom and look too long at our suffering? When things are going well, we can be a little bit smug sometimes. And it is only often for so many of us that when the old resources don't work, that we open to something far deeper and far, far more faithful. We open to grace, to inspiration, to insight, to courage, and to hope. That's what my most dreadful times have taught me. And while I never want to return to those places ever again, nevertheless, I have to be thankful for what I have learned from those places, because without them, my compassion, not just for you, but also for myself, would be very thin. What I've also discovered is that I can't experience grace for you. I can't even explain grace to you. I can only affirm its possibility in your life as well as in mine. This is something to be experienced, to be learned through the mystery and the adventure of your own life. But I can affirm that grace works not only within us, but also through us. We are not only the receivers of grace, we are also, when we allow ourselves to be, the instruments of grace. And that is also part of the great spiritual adventure, that from a place of humility, we can open up also to be the instruments of grace, especially in the presence of our own imperfections, especially in the knowledge of the imperfections that we share with one another. Here is a most beautiful teaching that comes to us from the Jewish mystical texts and is refined in the Kabbalistic tradition. The writers on alchemy, and remember, alchemy is the magical transformation of substance. The writers on alchemy speak of a mysterious substance to which no name is given. It is said to be the cheapest thing in the world and costs nothing. It cannot be bought, but is given for nothing to all. What is this mysterious thing? It is grace. The person who has passed through the fires of life and seen the emptiness of trivial things, of those things which at the utmost last for but a lifetime, discovers after bitter lessons that all mundane things are useful only because of the lessons which they teach from the soul. Whatever storm there may be without, however fearful the lightning and thunder in the world of humankind, we stand ready to serve those sent to us, ready to do the will of the divine, for we have learned from silence and from grace. Again, what I've also discovered is that we can't learn this in the abstract. We can only learn it from opening to our experiences and interpreting them in the mindfulness of the possibility of grace. Grace is the sacred, is the holy in its most dynamic form, moving, changing us, changing the situation, changing our view. Once was blind, but now I see. And sometimes with great subtlety. A single hair, says the Buddhist poet Shukatu, a single hair is enough to stir the sea. In Christian terms, grace is often associated with salvation, with very decided views on grace separating the different Christian communities. And in a roundabout way, those of us thinking about spirituality from a more inclusive, mystical perspective can also say that there is salvation in grace, that a blast of grace can indeed save us. It can save us from fear. It can save us from ignorance. It can save us from the delusion that our lives are inconsequential. It can save us from the fear that we are alone and that we must meet our difficulties without support. It is the saving grace that we need to know that in our darkest and direst moments, we are not alone. Because it is when we believe that we are alone that we are in most danger of despair. And it is when we come home to ourselves, to our souls, and to what absolutely connects us, that we begin to move from that place to a place of greater hope. We belong essentially to one another. We belong essentially to the divine source that many of us call God. Our appointment with life is in this present moment. If we don't open to grace right now, when will we do so? If we don't offer grace right now, when will we do so? Let grace loosen the restrictions of our being. Let grace ease the griefs of our hearts and minds. Let grace lift the shadow of disappointment. Let grace help you find wisdom. Let grace renew your trust in life itself. In the giving of grace, leave no one out. Love yourself with grace. Love others with grace. Open to the great mysteries. Know grace. Trust in grace. Be filled with grace.